Tell me all the things.
I'm so excited you're here.
Okay.
Thank you for doing
this. Thank you for having me.
What would make this just a really good experience for you?
I've had issues with concentration, anxiety, searching for conflict a little bit in my close relationships, not all the time. You had said like people who suffer from things like ADHD or ADD, they search for, when things are going really well, they search for that dopamine, which can sometimes come through aggression or conflict. And so things will be going really well and I'll be having a great day with my husband, and then something will trigger me and I will go straight to getting that feeling up, getting my heart to palpitate, and like I almost don't feel comfortable being relaxed. Like I once took, the doctor said a couple of years ago, they're like, well, why don't you try like Xanax or something like that? And I tried like a half of one and it felt so foreign to me, that feeling of being relaxed, that I did not feel comfortable ever going down that path, to the point where I take magnesium. If I take too much magnesium and I feel too relaxed, I get more anxiety. My whole life has been, I was an overweight teenager, and then I lost the weight through healthy diet and exercise. The issue was I got on a TV show 6 months after I lost the weight. And so I thought like this level of perfection had to continue. And so I was addicted to that level of perfection. And when I couldn't achieve that, then I developed a really severe eating disorder from the ages of 17 to 23. It was only till I met my husband that I wanted to feel better. I worried that I'm addicted to that. Being in the public eye from such an early age, I'm like addicted to that euphoria, and my life has a lot of euphoria. Like I get jobs that come out of nowhere, and you're flying to Bangkok before COVID to shoot a movie, and you're meeting amazing people, and you're getting your brain scan. Like my life is like consistently about those uppers, and I am searching for them.
Fame wears out your brain. It actually wears out the dopamine or pleasure centers of your brain. One of our questions is, do you have ADD? And is it induced by fame?
Right.
Or did you have it your whole life?
Right.
If somebody would have given you Adderall,
yes,
likely it wouldn't have gone well for you.
So I took it once, and I felt like I was on like speed.
Do you also want to improve your focus and lower your anxiety?
Yes, that's my number one goal.
Lower the anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your scan is most consistent with anxiety and worry and trouble shifting attention. It's not that you can't pay attention, it's that you can't shift. You wrote about depersonalization. Can you tell me about that? Where you feel like things aren't real?
Yeah, have you ever... It's like my number one thing that like I hate talking about, because like I feel like, oh God, I don't want it to come on. But it's that feeling where, I don't know how to describe. Have you ever like walked in somewhere and you're like, oh, this feels like very dreamlike to me? You ever had that feeling where you're just like, oh, like this is just like, whoa, like everything's kind of like a piece of glass is in front of you? And it scares me, and I know what it is. It first happened when I was 17 years old. Actually, I've never talked about this. 17 years old, and someone raced up to me and went, oh my God, are you Tammin Sursok? And I froze, and then I just like this dreamlike state just happened. And like, I think, or I know, because I've like read up a lot about this, it's a protection of myself. It's apparently what happens like if you're about to like go fight a war, or if it's like a lion in front of you or something, you kind of just step out of yourself for a second. So that started happening, but it goes in and out.
How often does it happen?
Used to happen, like when I had my miscarriages, it was like it didn't go away for months. And then, I mean, I have little, like if I'm paying attention or distracted, it's gone. So if I'm like really if I'm really learning, or I'm like watching a movie, which by the way, it takes me 20 minutes to get into a movie. When I'm really focused, or like, you know, I remember having the miscarriage and it was happening so much. And then I was in the water, and then there was these paparazzi in Australia, and they're like taking pictures of me, and I just felt protective of my kids, and I snapped out of it, right? I snapped out of this hazy sort of thing. I was like focused. But since we left LA and started like having this like road trip, it started to dissipate, because I feel like Los Angeles in a way brings on a lot of like doubt and stress and anxiety from me being an actor. So once I left LA, it almost left with it.
My prayer for my young stars is, dear God, please don't let me be famous before my brain is finished developing.
Yep.
Because fame wears out the pleasure centers of the brain. And you didn't get into an addiction, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But sort of got addicted to the eating disorder.
Right.
Which makes complete sense if you're valued for your body and your looks. Mm-hmm. Pretty soon everything becomes about that.
Right.
Even to the detriment of your health. Mm-hmm. Right. Here we see the most active parts of the brain, and this is actually going to become the most important one for you.
Okay.
In a healthy scan, the back bottom part is really active. This is an area called the cerebellum.
Okay.
It's involved in coordination, but also processing speed.
Gotcha.
And thought coordination. And then everything else should be sort of quiet. So blue is average activity, red is the top 15% of activity, white is the top 8%. So white's sort of where the super hotspots are.
Okay.
So when I look at your scan, this is where some of the ADD stuff is coming from. But when we go here,
ooh,
it's lit up. It's your emotional brain. Worried, rigid. If things don't quite go your way, you get upset, anxious. And if you connect the dots, it looks like a diamond, which goes with past emotional trauma.
Huh.
So we settle that down. You have a great cerebellum.
What does that mean?
Cerebellum is
so
awesome.
Pretty.
And your processing speed was sort of off the charts. It was really good.
Really? I thought I was doing well.
It was really good. And your memory
I thought I was doing, and I could have done better, but yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
was great. So we can actually tell if someone is headed toward dementia, like years ahead, and you are not.
Yes.
That it's actually this part here that's involved in visual memory.
Okay.
It's really busy, which is a good thing.
Okay, good.
This is actually the first area that dies in Alzheimer's disease. But
That's
a
amazing.
little bumpy. I want to make that healthier.
Okay.
And I think maybe the stacked stresses can be involved in that.
Yeah.
And if we calm it down, we'll do better.
Because here's what's interesting is like, you know, I haven't ever had sexual trauma. I mean, I've had little sexual traumas where like you're on set and someone touches you inappropriately, but it kind of like, you know, it's not like I've never been raped or I've never like had any of these big things. So I've never thought that I have trauma because they haven't been so, yes, the migraine, that did scare the crap out of me, but I haven't ever thought like I haven't had an abusive relationship. My husband's awesome. He's so nice to me. You know, like I've got nice parents. So it's, you're right. It's like these little traumas that end up becoming something bigger.
Well, having rocks thrown at your head and being bullied when you're overweight is not a little trauma, especially to a 14-year-old.
Right.
That's not little, that's huge.
Right.
Almost dying is not a little trauma.
Right. And being bulimic and anorexic and all these things that when I was...
And fame is traumatic.
Right.
That, I mean, every youngster wants it.
Right.
Right? But the fallout is often horrific.
Right. So with ADHD, I'm not a candidate for medication in general?
Well, my bias generally is to start with natural things. It's
Same.
like, if I had thought you had terrible ADD and you wouldn't do a good job as an actress and Adderall would work, I'd totally prescribe it. I believe in it for the right brain. Yours is the wrong brain for Adderall. It'll unbalance
I thought
you.
so.
But I want to calm your brain down, and we make something called serotonin mood support that will raise serotonin and in that way settle things down. I also make something called Focus and Energy, uses rhodiola, ashwagandha, ginseng. I think when you need to focus and you feel like you can't, that would be good. Or something called Brain Boost on the Go. It's made, and you're already taking theanine. So theanine
stops a panic attack from me within 10 seconds. Like, it's so great.
Is a really good thing for you.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, whenever you get a panic attack, 4 things. The first thing is you have to do diaphragmatic breathing. Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
Just because we figured out how to do the opposite of a fight or flight response.
Right.
And so fight or flight response is called a sympathetic response. A parasympathetic response counteracts that.
Yeah.
And this breathing pattern where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 1.5 seconds, out for 8, hold it for 1.5 seconds. Do that 10 times, the panic attack will go away. Second thing, don't leave. If you're in a situation where you feel, I have to get out of here, don't.
See, Sean, I used to like just get in a car and just go.
Because if you do that, the anxiety controls you. And you don't want anything to have you by the throat. You've worked too hard to be independent and to have control over your own life. And then write down what you're thinking, because you're probably masterful at predicting the worst possible thing. Dopamine is really important to you, right? It sort of drives your attention span, your motivation. It's involved in pleasure, euphoria, joy, reward, motivation, focus, and smooth motor movements. When dopamine goes away, people get Parkinson's disease.
Gotcha.
And they get depressed. And dopamine is why you jump when you get excited, freeze when you get scared. When that person ran up your Tammin Sursok, you just got this
Dopamine.
dump of dopamine. And it didn't make you feel good, it made you feel bad.
I thought I would get this diagnosis. Like, I thought that this is kind of what would happen, and I now have some practical tools on how to fix it. The supplements are great. I really came for the chocolate. I'm excited to get the word out. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.